Bloody church worship meeting in Michigan, many die. The quiet town of Grand Blanc, Michigan, was violently shaken when a Sunday worship meeting turned into a scene of horror. What was meant to be a sacred moment of prayer and fellowship inside the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints became a nightmare of gunfire, fire, and death. Families had come to pray, sing, and listen to the Word of God, but instead, they found themselves running for their lives. The events began just after 10:25 a.m., when the attacker rammed his pickup truck through the front entrance of the church. Worshippers barely had time to understand what was happening before glass shattered and debris filled the sanctuary. Out of the vehicle came a heavily armed man who immediately began to fire bullets into the congregation. Panic erupted. Parents grabbed children, others dove behind pews, and the screams of terror mixed with the echo of gunshots inside the holy space. It was not just the gunfire that spread fear. Witnesses recall smelling gasoline within seconds of the attack. Flames erupted almost instantly, spreading across pews, walls, and carpets. Thick smoke filled the building, choking those trapped inside. The church, once a place of peace, became a burning cage of chaos. Police responded almost immediately. 2 officers arrived within a minute and confronted the gunman in a fierce shootout. The attacker exchanged fire with law enforcement before being fatally shot. His death ended the immediate threat, but the fire had already consumed large portions of the building. Fire crews rushed to the scene, but the structure collapsed in sections and was later declared a total loss. The aftermath revealed a staggering human cost, for people lost their lives in the tragedy, not counting the attacker. 1 died instantly from gunfire. Another succumbed to injuries later at the hospital. 2 more victims were discovered in the burnt ruins of the church, likely unable to escape the flames. At least 8 others suffered injuries, many of them gunshot wounds. 1 remains in critical condition, fighting for life, while others are recovering but face long journeys of healing. Some residents remain unaccounted for as investigators continue to search through the debris for potential additional victims. Authorities identified the attacker as a 40-year-old man from Burton, Michigan. He had once served in the U.S. Marines, a background that shocked many who learned of his involvement. His truck carried American flags, and investigators discovered incendiary devices and homemade explosives at the scene. It is unclear whether these were part of his original plan or simply meant to spread further terror. His motive remains a mystery. Investigators are now digging into his personal life, his digital records, and his past experiences. Was this act driven by religious hatred? Was it personal vendetta? Was it a symbolically timed assault following recent events in the LDS community? Or was it the act of a deeply disturbed individual seeking destruction? At this point, there are more questions than answers. The community's response has been one of grief, shock, and unity. Vigils sprang up across Grand Blanc and neighboring towns within hours of the tragedy. Churches of all denominations opened their doors for prayer gatherings. Candles, flowers, and handwritten notes now surround what remains of the church, serving as symbols of solidarity and mourning. Leaders across the state condemned the violence. Religious voices called for forgiveness, healing, and stronger unity in the face of evil. Many community members, however, also voiced frustration, demanding more security for houses of worship and stronger safeguards against such acts of violence. This tragedy has stirred national conversations. Across the country, people are once again debating the safety of places of worship, the prevalence of gun violence, and the growing risk that churches, mosques, synagogues, and temples face as open targets. For centuries, these places have been sanctuaries, but now they must consider security cameras, trained guards, and emergency response drills. It is a painful reality that peace is no longer guaranteed, even in a house of prayer. Yet, even amid tragedy, stories of bravery have begun to emerge. Survivors spoke of parishioners who shielded children from bullets, officers who ran into gunfire to stop the shooter, and firefighters who risked their lives inside a collapsing, burning building to rescue the wounded. These stories remind the world that even in the darkest of times, courage and humanity can shine. The journey forward will be long and difficult for Grand Blanc. Families will bury loved ones. Survivors will carry scars, both physical and emotional. The LDS community has lost a beloved house of worship that stood for years as a symbol of faith and unity. But even in ashes, the spirit of resilience is alive. As investigators search for motives and leaders search for answers, the people of Michigan are left holding tightly to one another, praying for healing, and demanding that such violence never be allowed to strike sacred ground again. This Bloody Sunday meeting has left America with chilling questions. Why this church? Why this community? Could it have been prevented? And most importantly, what must change to ensure that worship remains a place of safety, not a battlefield? Sarah M., Facebook. I can't believe this happened in our own Michigan community. Praying for every family touched by this evil. At Mike D. 89, Twitter/X. Churches are supposed to be safe havens. This is heartbreaking and infuriating at the same time. Hashtag Pray for Michigan. Lisa Turner, Instagram. Lighting a candle tonight in memory of those who didn't make it out. We must stand together. Pastor John K., YouTube Live. We mourn with the LDS family in Grand Blanc. Faith communities must unite against violence. At Justice for All TikTok. Enough is enough. How many more times must we see worshipers targeted? We need answers. David L., Reddit. As someone who grew up in Grand Blanc, this hits too close to home. It feels unreal. Emily R., local radio call-in. My cousin was inside that church. Thank God she survived, but she's traumatized. Please pray for healing. At USA Watch, Twitter/X. Attacking people in prayer is one of the darkest acts imaginable. Solidarity with Michigan today. Karen P., Facebook group, Michigan Moms United. We need better security in every house of worship. This could happen anywhere. Robert S., Instagram stories, sharing this not for views, but to remind everyone life is fragile. Hug your family. Cherish every moment.